Thank you for that one, Khaled. Absolutely amazing stuff. But we are very, very excited to announce our next guest, who is here, a travel host and an expert when it comes to discovering the next untapped destination. Please join us in welcoming Zahirah Marty to the show. Zahirah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
It's a little bit weird having you on here because I'm very envious of you and your job. You combine my two favorite things, presenting and travel, and you've been doing it for over 10 years, has it been?
Yeah, I mean, let's not spend
you've been
time on the numbers, right?
For an unspecified amount of time, but you're definitely an expert.
A long time.
How did it all get started?
I worked in television back in South Africa, so I presented the leading lifestyle, travel, all-encompassing show. And from there, they launched the first travel show, and I did the first season, and I loved it. But I was very green, and I probably wasn't right for the job at the time. Fast forward 15 years, got a call from my director at the time, and he's like, "Do you want to present a travel show?" And I was like, "I'm a bit old now." And he's like, "No, you're up. It's you."
Amazing.
And yeah, that was 3 years ago, and I've been presenting ever since, and I love it.
Fantastic. I like that. I wanted to ask you, what is one of your favorite destinations that you've been to out of the travels?
That's like asking a parent what their favorite child is. You know, it's very difficult. Being South African and from the African continent, I'm always biased towards Africa. Yeah. I think it's one of the most unsung heroes of our world, and there's so many incredible experiences that you can have there. If you're going to force me to choose one, I'm going to choose South Africa, home.
Oh, nice.
It is the best of everything. You've got nature, you've got ocean, you've got food, you've got people. It's just an incredible place to go, but Africa's got the very best of everything. It's hospitality like you've never seen
I might go
before.
next year, actually. I was planning it with my friends.
We can have a conversation. I'll book your entire trip.
Yeah, I love that.
Zahirah, you're the best person to ask this question. We are seeing these thematic travel trips that people are taking these days. I mean, sleep tourism is a word I discovered on this very show a couple of seasons ago. There's food tourism, travel tourism, tech-powered trips. What do you think the trends for 2025 will be when it comes to travel?
Well, I think themes are always going to be there. I think as humans, we've learned to refine what we want and go after it, which I think is a post-COVID feeling. What we're seeing a lot more of in 2025 is what we call soft travel. So unlike slow travel, which is a slower pace, you know, I love how these terms come up every year. It's like someone sat down and decided this year. So soft travel, where people are really wanting to disconnect, go back to nature, really nitpick and package what they want. You're seeing a slight move away from those lavish, splashy trips that people were taking and really focusing on individuals, what they need, what their soul needs. Mental health is a huge focus when it comes to how people are packaging their travel as well.
So what's it going to take for me to get into that? To make the switch?
You know, I just think slow it down is what I always say. Slow it down. Maybe take some of Faris's travel tips and go hostels and boats.
I'm not sure what kind of travel buddies you and I would make, Faris.
I mean, you saw my Instagram. I don't
think you would go on that trip at all.
But you know what I've realized? You can do simple, and that's another thing about soft, is it's not backpacking, it's not roughing it out, it's just simplifying it. And that could be going an ecotourism route rather than a luxury, over-the-top, lavish hotel.
Well, let's discuss, because you mentioned soft travel. As you said, the way I travel, probably considered hard travel.
Rough travel.
People ask me, like, why do you do it? Isn't this supposed to be your vacation time? And it's almost as if, first of all, I love it. It's almost as if Dubai is so convenient, it's so comfortable, it's so nice. When I go on holiday, I want to get punished a little bit. Are we seeing any kind of trends moving towards that type of traveling?
You know, you use a lot of words that were really aggressive, but I don't think they need to be. You know, your style of travel would probably fall into the adventure category. Yeah. It's someone that's looking for a little bit more adventure, a little bit more connection with nature, and a little bit more disconnection from convenience, which sounds like a scary concept, but it's essentially what it is. When I go home to South Africa, I love that my son takes his shoes off and runs around in the field. You know, when we're there in the winter, it's go out, pick up the elephant dung, break it apart, the stuff we did growing up. So it might seem really rugged, but it's essentially just connecting and grounding yourself in the earth and the planet we live in without the fluff.
I feel like it's also the people as well, because staying in the places you stay, you'll meet the authentic experience of whatever country you're in, rather than like a resort is not giving you the exact experience, is it?
True. I totally agree with that.
I mean, resorts are great. I'm not going to bag a resort. I love checking in and knowing that everything is completely taken care of. But yes, I think being able to connect with locals, go into their homes, taste their food, and do it their way makes a big difference.
You know, I grew up in Dubai, so we didn't do a lot of elephant dung picking, unfortunately.
Camel
What
dung,
you
though.
missing?
Not even, I mean, in Satwa, there weren't many camels when I was growing up in Dubai. What would you say, you mentioned that you're biased towards Africa, but what would you say are your top favorite unbiased destinations people need to watch out for in 2025?
There is a long list, and again, it comes down to what your preference is. I would say at the top of a lot of people's lists are the stands, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, which I think
That's
you
what you were
mentioned
saying
as
as
well.
well, yeah.
They are beautiful. They are so undiscovered, so unspoiled. Again, this might sound like it's back to Africa, but Madagascar, you know, there's direct flights now from the UAE. You could go to Madagascar, which is completely rugged and rustic, and there's not many places in the world that's like it. You know, if you're a party animal, Brazil's got its Carnival coming up in March. Just saying, been there, it's amazing, you'll never regret it. You might need a lot of sleep after. And you know, Japan, you mentioned Japan, always a great destination, but I always think go off the beaten path. Try Greenland, try Antarctica, try Ghana.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But, but when is the best time to see the aurora lights and all of that, especially in that region?
I think it depends on the region you go to, but generally the latter half of the year, depending on the country, they shift a little bit. I mean, we
Okay.
saw a huge spike up in Australia, I think, in
Yeah.
the recent years. So it just depends where exactly you want to go and then tracking it, kind of like the cherry blossoms, which were a bit late this year. So it's just keeping an eye on what you want to do, like the wildebeest migration in Kenya, same story. Keep an eye, have a rough idea of what you want to do, and then just kind of pick the perfect weekend to get sick and,
And go.
disappear.
What would you say, Zahirah, to somebody who has always thought about traveling, but other priorities kept them in place? They haven't really experienced it. They're almost nervous to go to another country. What would you say to encourage them?
Travel is the best investment you're ever going to make in your life. There is no better teacher, no better way of preaching the themes that we need in this world at the moment of tolerance and love and acceptance and understanding than by traveling, immersing yourself in another person's culture, seeing it from their perspective and broadening your horizon.
We still have a lot to talk about, but next up we'll be chatting to a travel connoisseur and finding out what are the top destinations for 2025. Don't go anywhere.